Welcome to the You Can't Afford Me podcast, where we skip the fluff and dive straight into the grind. Real entrepreneurs, real struggles, and the unfiltered journey behind success. Let's get into it. Hey guys, thanks for joining us on another episode of the You Can't Afford Me podcast. Now, if you are driving right now, you may want to pull over, okay? If you're sitting at your desk, you may want to find some way to fasten the seatbelt because this is going to be an awesome, a deep conversation. When I'm sitting with gentlemen like this of like mind, like I know we can just go off and get into some deep stuff. So I think you guys are going to get extreme value from this episode. And probably we just met a couple months ago. And he's already become a client here at Enzo Media Firm, has his own podcast. And we'll talk about that, get in a little bit of that. But today we got Will on the podcast. Will, how you doing, buddy?
Sam, I'm great, man. It's an honor to be here with you today.
Absolutely, man. So give everybody a quick rundown of who you are and what you do.
Again, started probably in the mid-'90s, my father started the business Techno Marketing. And so it's a promotional marketing company. So for the last almost 30 years, I've been running Techno Marketing. And that's how I'm well known in Richmond, is for having this marketing business that my father started. It's been a great blessing to me and my family to have this business. And I work with two very successful ladies that help me run it and just really create an experience for clients that essentially helps it run itself. I mean, we're in a great spot now, year 30. So with this success and streamlined process of running Techno, I've had the opportunity to look at other areas in my life and things that I'm passionate about. So I started the Primal Journey last year. And that is a health coaching business. And it's something that I do in the absence of techno marketing.
Yeah.
I lead a life right now that is very free of distraction. And so it enables me to literally wake up every day and, develop my self-concept further, invest time in my family, invest time in my business, really focus on how to bring the most with each interaction to people that I work with in both businesses.
Love it. Love it.
And when that's not happening, man, just time with the family.
Yep. Good stuff. Well, let's start. I always like to start people at the beginning of their journey. So what area did you grow up? Where'd you go to school? All that good stuff.
From Richmond, Virginia. So right here, went to Godwin High School, graduated in 2000, went to Longwood out in Farmville.
Woo, woo.
Right? So I just realized we had that connection.
Yep.
Through our boy Jake. Graduated in 2004 and then moved to Virginia Beach shortly thereafter to start working for UPS, and worked in Virginia Beach for UPS for about 5 years, and then moved back to Richmond.
Why'd you decide to move to Virginia Beach?
It was where the opportunity was. So when I graduated college, I had my dad called me one day and he said, "Hey, I know this guy. He's a VP for UPS, and he said he'd be willing to sit down with you and have a talk about what you're looking to do, after graduating." And I went and had breakfast with this guy who was one of the VPs for UPS, and I remember he said to me, he said, "Will," he said, "if you're anything like your father, we're going to hire you." And so
That's a bold statement.
That was it. That's all he said. And so we just sat there and he told me about the company and told me where the opportunity was in Virginia Beach. And I said, I can be there in 2 weeks. So I found a place to live, moved down there with the help of my family, and then started down there in sales.
Nice.
Did outside sales for him, eventually worked up to managing larger accounts for him. Had the opportunity to meet my wife while I was there. And my father always told me it was the 5-year plan. He said, you have to work for a big company for 5 years minimum before you come work for me. And I never really understood that when we were at Longwood together. I just wanted to graduate and go work for Dad. Like, who wants to mess with applying for other things or moving to other places? You've got this marketing business that's been in the family, but he was adamant that I go find the best, he called it Fortune 50 company training that you could find, so that they can teach you the time and territory management. They can teach you how to run a sales meeting and how to manage a sales territory. And he was right, because we did multiple trips throughout my career where I would go to Philly for a week or Louisville for 2 weeks, and it'd be, business acumen training, a lot of role playing, group bonding and things like that. So I got to experience all that, which the first thing I did when I came to work for my dad was get us a Salesforce license so that I could manage things the way I was, with the big companies. My dad was kind of old school. So
Mm,
first thing, like I said, was bring Salesforce into the business. And I used to always say, if it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. We're not going to talk about anything in here
yep.
that's not in this system. People would want to come and talk to me about opportunities, and I would go check Salesforce. It's not in there. I say, come back and talk to me when
Yeah.
it's in Salesforce. I mean, that was the importance of having that CRM and consistency, to grow.
That's
So
a big thing that I think a lot of, and I'll admittedly say, we probably didn't get, I've had this company for 11 years. We probably didn't get our systems right till about a year ago. Because I'm a big, you seem like the entrepreneur is a little bit more analytical than me, which I wish I had a little bit of that more in me. I'm just like the big visionary guy, the big dreamer. I'm just like, I get an idea, let's execute, let's go. You guys figure out all the details. I'm not going to be involved in that. But those systems are what really allow a business to scale.
winners and losers have the same goals, but it's the winners that have different systems, right?
Say, you got to say that one
I'm
more
just
time.
saying, winners and losers have the same goals. We can all sit here and say we want to be the champions, but it's the winners who will do the same thing day after
Yep.
day who will eventually achieve it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard to pick a goal that's similar.
Yep.
It's very challenging to actually implement the systems and then stay consistent with it,
Mm-hmm.
over an expanded period of time. When we talk
Yeah.
about transformation and getting things right, we're not talking about a hard 75 P90.
Yeah.
We're talking about 3 years, 3 to 5 years of consistency. It takes that much time.
Oh, yeah.
It really does.
Talk about the sales piece that you got to experience, because I tell people all the time, like, I don't care if you want to be an entrepreneur. I don't care if you want to go work for a big company. Learn the skill of sales, because in every aspect of your life, like, we're both married. We had to sell ourselves to our wives. The
Yeah.
first jobs we had to sell ourselves there. Like,
Yeah.
you're constantly selling yourself.
Everywhere I go, I'm selling. We went to church last Sunday, Hope Church. I love it. My wife says, "Why are you wearing a sports coat? No one's going to have a sports coat on." I said, "Because I own 2 businesses
Yeah.
in the community, and I want to stand out. I want to represent my best. And to me, I just feel like I should have this on in this place, And so
Wait, you got a Hope Church?
Hope Church.
Or Hope Point Church?
Hope Church off
Okay.
Patterson Avenue. I've been 3 times this year and
Gotcha.
really enjoyed it. But this was just an example that popped in my head.
I got a Hope Point Church, so I was like, hold up, don't tell me we're going to the same church too.
No, that'd be something, wouldn't it? Well, we'll have to get back to the fact that we have the same picture above our desk.
Yeah.
We meet randomly, and I'm like, dude, that just means we're running the same program,
Yep.
right?
And that picture defines exactly what you're talking about. Is just being, for those who haven't seen it, like, both of us have this photo. I wish I could remember the artist.
Yeah.
Do you remember the artist?
I don't remember the artist.
I was getting the ads on Instagram
Yeah.
nonstop, and I eventually pulled the trigger. But it's a black lion amongst a bunch of white sheep.
Yeah.
And to me, that just spoke to me and said, standing out and being different, like, amongst
Well,
the
the
crowd.
word I think of is authentic. That is the highest frequency. That's the highest frequency we can resonate at, is authenticity. You can't beat that. That beats love. I mean, truly. When you can own an emotion and walk in a room and stick behind it and not change how you feel based on the room, you can keep your resonance about you. That is what it's like to be authentic. I think that might be the reason why I got tattooed. It just was something that I wanted to express. I saw something in it that I loved. And, for me, it was just a personal reminder every day.
Yeah.
And I loved it. That's just kind of the way I operate. That's the picture above my desk. When I come into the office every day, it's a reminder that I'm not trying to be like the 99% of them out there. And according to my InBody 380 body scanner, I'm in the 1% of men in their 40s across the world. And as a health coach, when I know my body composition is in the 1%, it just reinforces that all my choices are in alignment with where I want to be.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, that's the proof right there.
Absolutely.
And you go back to what we were talking about with church and wearing that sports coat. I've just found that that's the way you want to operate anywhere in the community, right? When I'm going out to Tuckahoe Little League for hours upon hours of baseball, I'm making sure that I'm Primal Journey. I'm out there. I'm representing, right? I'm enthusiastic, right? I'm not speaking negatively, right? There's a lot of sideline banner that can take place during these sporting events, and the idea is to not get caught up in that. Just be grateful that your child has one of these spots out of 12 and they can come here and grow, right? Every weekend, 3 times a week, right? That's the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And as far as baseball goes, I think I love my children being in it because the batting order is a direct reflection of life, right? I mean, we all
Mm,
are in the top of the batting order some weeks, and then other days we're in the bottom quarter of it.
mm-hmm.
And then there's even weeks where we're dead last in that order.
Yep.
And that's feedback for us that we need to start making some different choices, right? We need to start, what's gotten us here, we need to identify it and go the other direction with it, right?
Yeah.
And do it long enough to where we move our way back up to the top.
Absolutely.
We're very seasonal, right? I
Mm,
mean, our emotions are seasonal. We need to understand that being on the bottom of the order is the opportunity,
yep.
right? We've just let it slip a little bit, right? We've got a little bit comfortable. We've gotten distracted. We're seeking
Mm-hmm.
other things. Next thing you know, boom, we finally recognize we're here, and now we know the work needs to be done. And
And I
then,
think
then
a
we lock
lot
in.
of people lack that thought process because guys like us, we see that motivates me. If I see myself in the bottom, oh, I got work to do. Let's get at it. Most people probably look at something like that and say, oh, well, I'm just not good enough. I'm never gonna make it here. Like you gotta flip that switch in your head.
Parents will do that.
Yeah.
Parents will do that to their own children. In fact, I almost cost my 12-year-old, he's 12 now, when he tried out for All Stars at 10. He didn't make it the year before. And so when it came up for the second year to try it again, my wife was like, hey, after the game, take him down to field 10. They're having the tryout. I'm like, I'm not taking him down there again. She's like, take him down there
Mm,
now. And I said, okay, I will take him down there. So I marched him down there, and there's probably 50 kids,
mm,
trying out for 12 positions. And I thought he had a great tryout. I
yeah.
really did. And then, but I wasn't too overwhelmed with it. I guess I just didn't have, I was more critical of him. I don't know what it was. I didn't have the expectation of it. I didn't feel like it was there. But a couple days later, I got a phone call from the coach. He's like, can Andrew play All Stars this summer? And I was like, wow. I was like, I almost let my own limitations
Mm,
impact, him.
yeah.
And that's what we got to be careful of as parents. We got to stop letting our shortcomings projecting those onto our kids.
Mm-hmm. And it's also about just showing up. Because a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of times I look back in my life and I realize, because my kids are much younger, so we haven't gotten to the
yeah.
little leagues and all this other stuff yet. Those obstacles will be coming for me not too far down the road. But
I think I was trying to save him from another year of rejection, and in doing so, I was just trying to play it safe for him.
yeah,
To try to shelter him from it and just that whole experience again. And just my lack of belief too was another
yeah,
reason why I didn't want to take him down, to field 10.
yeah,
But it was my wife who came in and stepped in and said, no, take him down there right now. I'm not joking. Take him down there. So we did, and here we are. And it was just a big life lesson to me,
yeah,
that, you just can't let the past have that present moment impact that's going to further limit you. You have to, in
mm,
baseball, we call it flushing it. I think that's the best thing I've ever heard in baseball, because you go and you have that at bat,
mm,
or you have that strike three watching. That's like one of the worst things you can do is watch that strike three come
yeah,
down, especially on a full count. We're jazzed up, we're ready to roll, we're going to be aggressive, and to
mm,
have a umpire make that decision for you
yeah,
is not what you want to do. I forgot where I was going with that, but baseball has just taught me so much about moving forward
mm,
and truly flushing. Like, people try to understand this, or try to understand, well, what do you mean by that? That thought of negativity is always going to be there.
oh yeah,
Like, it's always going to be there. We can't think we're going to lead a negativity free life.
mm,
It's our job to be aware of it in the moment when we're having it. And when we say flush it, literally
yep,
flush it. Well, how do we do that? We bring in a completely different belief and put it in
mm,
front of it. And it can feel silly doing that, right?
yeah,
Because, we're lacking confidence, we're scared, we're fearful. But if you truly flush it and
mm,
just operate in that present moment, that's what guys who are really good at baseball are able to do,
yeah.
is just
You
move
got
on
to.
quickly.
That's why I love golf so much. Is because like you hit a crappy shot, you jump back in the cart, and you got to completely forget about that shot that you just hit literally seconds ago.
Yeah,
Now we got to focus. We got to regroup. We still got to get this thing up on the green.
exactly. Another thing we talk about limitations and why sports are so great is because when I was a kid, I played a lot of basketball growing up.
Mm,
We didn't have the internet when we were 7, 8, 9 years old. So we were always outdoors. Well, I had a basketball hoop. I played. I was a good basketball player. I could shoot from far. I could dribble. But I never invested the time in going left because I just remember how I felt about it. It was difficult.
Yeah.
It slowed down the experience. I just didn't want to put any time into it. It just felt too awkward. I'm right-handed. You know what I mean? Obviously, so why am I even going to mess with that? So when I had my children and my boys, I installed a hoop very similar but better to what I had. It's got this beautiful basketball situation at my house where the
Yeah.
kids can play perfectly level. We go out there and we're playing, and I remembered the limitations I had from not going left. I tried out for the basketball team in 6th grade, didn't make it because a big portion of that trout in the very beginning was using your left hand, do a
Yep.
left-handed layup, right? And I couldn't do one, right? So I had a kink in the armor that got fully exposed that I know just limited me from being on the team.
Yeah.
So with my boys right now, I make them go left. I've been making them go left every time I'm out there with them. Give me 15 in a row. We're going left 15 times in a row, right? We do that 4 times a week. You do the math. That's how many times we practiced it.
Yep.
Well, now I'm just watching them play very good basketball right now. And they're going left. They're
Yep.
carving up the court. They're getting so many points, right? They're passing the ball. I mean, we have to be very intentional with what we want to do. And then it's very challenging to start these processes of learning new things. We talk
Yes.
about personal transformation, weight loss, right? When you're already 250 pounds and you should be 190 pounds, that process, just the process of getting there, starting that process is very difficult for people. And most people will just kind of throw their hands up,
Yeah.
and not want to mess with it. So this level of intentionality that I've had in the past few years, I'm just truly trying to increase my kids' awareness about their, the power that they have.
I want to circle back to the family piece, but let me jump back to your origin story. So, 5 years at UPS, and then immediately after that, you went to work for the family business.
Yes, moved back to Richmond and went to work in the family business.
So let me pause you right there real quick because I have an interesting question involved with that. So I think especially in today, as we sit here in 2026, majority of parents that I talk to that are entrepreneurs, when the time comes to pass that along to their kids, it seems like today this generation is no longer interested in taking over their dad's business. They want to be a TikTok star or YouTuber, or they want to have a mini home and travel the world. Like, their goals and aspirations are completely different, and a lot of them don't want to follow in their dad's or their mom's footsteps. What was it for you? Because it sounded like this was the plan all along.
Yeah.
You just knew that you had to pivot a different direction for a short period. Why was that a goal for you in terms of, I want to go work for the family business?
That was just a path that I felt was the most natural, and was just something that I felt like I should be doing, going to work with my dad. My dad had so much enthusiasm for what he did. He was really, really good at it. He had a lot, just like I said, the guy who told me if I was anything like my dad, they're going to hire me.
Yeah.
That was the energy my dad had. I mean, he owned selling promotional items. He was the doctor of techno marketing. He would go around Richmond to events and put on a white doctor's coat. He was the cure. He was the cure for the common promotion.
Ooh.
So I can remember going to Greater Richmond Chamber events, back in the day, with him, and going to a trade show where we'd have to exhibit or walk around, and he's like, "Hey, put on this doctor's coat, and we're going in together." I'm like, "I'm not putting on the doctor's coat." I'm like, "That's you." I'm like, "That's your thing." But no, he made me put on that doctor's coat, but it was one of the most brilliant things he ever did, because still to this day, he's 78 years old. No matter where I go in the community, how's the doc? How's the doctor doing? Everybody still remembers the doctor. He even had his own bobblehead, with his doctor's coat on, and he would give it to all his clients.
Yep.
And so I remember I worked for him one summer as an internship when I was at Longwood, and I can remember going around to see different clients, and they had the bobbleheads on their credenza behind their desk, or on their desk. He would have stickers for the car that he would make, and we'd see him around Richmond every now and then. My buddies was, "Hey, I'm looking at a bumper sticker that someone," the bumper sticker said, "Beautiful people, friends of the doctor." That's all it said. And so you'd be riding around Richmond, and all of a sudden you'd see that bumper sticker. And
Yeah.
it was someone that knew my dad and liked him enough to want to put the bumper sticker on the car.
Yep.
So he was the brand, and it's big shoes to follow.
Yeah.
In my dad's footsteps with the way he owned it. To answer your question about this next generation, I think the reason they might not want to pursue it is because we don't make it look fun.
Yeah.
Right? We make it look burdensome or worrisome, or we lose our health in the process, or we lose our time with the family in the process, right? And so they might not find that an attractive avenue, right? But if you enjoy doing it and you resonate it, and your kids just see the passion and enthusiasm that comes from it and the impact that it makes, then I think they'll probably want to pursue that, right?
Yeah. Did you share the same, like, I'm diehard passionate. Like, you go to my social media, you can tell I love marketing through and through. Even though we're both in different sectors of marketing, we're both still in the marketing industry, but I love it. Like, I can't get enough of it. Like,
Yes.
the more I can read on it, the more new things I can learn. Like, I can't get enough of it. Did you share that same passion along the years as you saw your dad building your business,
did
or
not,
was it
no.
more this was just a vehicle?
That's a great question. I never shared that passion until the last 4 years when I turned 40 years old. I quit drinking alcohol 3 months prior to my 40th. So in March of 2022, I quit drinking alcohol. Prior to that, when I started working for my dad in 2009 up until the pandemic. So really for about the better part of a decade, I did not enjoy being in the business and doing what I was doing, starting out in the business, because I was a very distracted guy. I was watching a lot of sports. I was drinking alcohol every day, most evenings. I'd have a beer at lunch, always have a bourbon on the way down. Didn't really matter when it was. The brewery thing was kicking off everywhere in Richmond back then. And so it was just brewery tours. And, so I was focused on drinking, dating my wife. Maybe we just gotten married, but I was still just kind of in that party mind. So I'd show up to work not in my best energy, if you will. I would show up with a lot of guilt and shame for how I acted the day or night before. And when you show up in that energy, how do you feel about prospecting a new client?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't feel good about yourself. You're not in alignment. So do you really think bringing that energy to a sales call or potential client is going to win you new business?
Yeah.
No. It's be very hard. So how does that correlate in the business? Well, when you show up in that loop from the day before, you're, like I said, you're not optimistic.
Yeah.
You don't want to walk in that room, right? It's just a completely different feeling. So for 10 years, I faked it. I mean, honestly, I faked it. I hired people who were more aggressive than me when it came to finding new business, people who had no problem going out and doing that. So I'd pay them whatever, you go do that. I'll stay back here and do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the front guy. Are you with me? I had to be, but I put on an excellent front, I was probably 245 pounds at my biggest by the time the pandemic, came around.
Man, I can't imagine you at 245.
I know a lot of people can't, but that's what the alcohol had done. That's what the stress had done. That's what the poor sleep did. That's what the horrible diet did. I didn't understand anything about macronutrients. I didn't understand anything about spirituality. I didn't understand anything about energy. All I knew was the Dallas-Washington rivalry and Masters golf and fantasy football and a little bit of online gambling, and then other distractionary online things that pulled me from being all I could be. So where I'm going with that is 4 years ago, I quit drinking alcohol. So you talk about business now. I think what's given me so much joy every day is having lived a decade of faking it. Now when I wake up,
Get be your true self.
bro, after 4 years of consistency,
Yeah.
I look at myself every day, and I'm just very grateful that I was able to kind of learn the game,
Yeah.
learn the metabolic game.
And people don't understand that the joy comes from the discipline.
Gosh,
Like
well, that's the dopamine, right?
Yeah.
Like, it sucks to get going.
Yeah.
Who wants to make that change day one?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fact that I'm 4 years in and wake up at 4:45 a.m. Monday through Friday, go to Burn Boot Camp by 5:15.
The same time I wake up.
Sauna by 7, sauna by 8 o'clock, kids at school by 7:45, sauna at 8, in the office by 9, and then boom, bringing as much value as I can into the marketplace. It didn't start like that.
Yeah.
It literally was trying to set that alarm clock, which I call it that for your viewers, but it's really an opportunity clock if you ever work with me. That's how we think about it. When the opportunity clock goes off, it's hard day one saying, okay,
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna wake up early for the first time.
I've been doing it forever. Like, I don't like waking up at 4:45 in the morning.
But
I like the person I become because I wake up at 4:45 in the
yes,
morning.
give it that consistency, give it that expanded time horizon. That's how you stack dopamine, right? So you start waking up early, say it's about becoming more fit. You hit the gym, you go for a walk. Well, after weeks and months of doing that, and you start to see progress,
Yeah.
boom, that's when dopamine starts stacking on that pathway.
Mhm.
And so the next time that alarm clock comes along, and you're 60 days in, it's really no issue for you to go over there, hit it,
Yeah.
and put 2 feet on the ground.
Yeah.
But you have to give yourself time for these new pathways in the brain, like I said, to stack that dopamine
Yep.
molecule on it so that that drive is really there to go pursue it.
For sure.
You know,
Let's put a pin in that because I want to spend a good part of our conversation on that piece. But let me close the chapter on the business side. So now, where I sit, 11 years as an entrepreneur, I kind of look back and I think, because you hear people say like, don't, if you work within your passion, you never work a day in your life.
yeah,
I think part of that's crap, but part of it can also be true. Also believe that for most people, what we're all trying to achieve is freedom,
yeah,
financial freedom, so that we have
Yeah.
full control of our time. So, like today, and my son's 5 years old, I may tell him, hey, man, like, you may want to be an electrician or a plumber because with AI and everything that's going to take, like, these are the companies that are going to earn the most. Yeah, you may not enjoy, like, pumping crap out of a toilet, but if that pays you $300,000 a year and you have a team and now you have the flexibility to go live the life you want to do, isn't that ultimately what you want to do? So I'd love to hear your perspective on following your passion versus just going down a track to achieve your ultimate goals.
I think you kind of asked me what you said there. I want to go back to the first part when it talks about satisfaction and what you get from your career choices and paths that we choose. If you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. But if you work harder on yourself, you'll make a fortune.
Mm-hmm.
You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are.
Mm.
And I remember when I heard Jim Rohn say that for the first time, dude, I almost started crying because it just resonated. I'd never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Let's go back that decade of faking it. Now the last 4 years of not drinking alcohol, by waking up daily, consistently, choosing food that nourishes my body consistently, not drinking alcohol, not going online and giving my energy online, keeping it in the family. After doing that consistently over time, I've been able to work with the perfect customers, the people who have those same beliefs and values. I've just found it that when you become that emotion and you become
You
in
attract
alignment
that.
with, and you walk into the room,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my wife gives me such a hard time anywhere I go because it's like, dude, people are just coming. And I'm like, because, honey, I'm in the community.
Yeah.
I'm literally trying to help everyone that I talk to.
Mm-hmm. You're adding
Literally.
value.
We left Stryker Park. The game ended at 10:30. My wife needed to be at a brunch at 11. She was 40 minutes late because we were just talking to everyone on the way out of Stryker Park. And every time, it's nothing but positive interactions with people. It's just the same people come to say, oh my God, can you believe the sun? Can you believe we're here watching our children do this? Have a great day. I mean, it was...
And people will never forget how you make them feel.
Yes. So that's been the last 4 years of consistency. All of a sudden, you become that energy. You resonated. And that energy that you put out attracts people to you, attracts those opportunities, right? So when it comes to business, if value is an expression of price, we're never the cheapest. I've been saying that for a decade now to everyone. I have no problem telling clients that. In fact, I used to have to tell them that. Now I don't. Now it's unspoken. Because every time they email me, I look at it like the last time I'll ever speak to them again. And I try to give them that type of service for real. Like, oh my gosh, do you know how competitive the marketplace is?
Yeah.
Do you know how many of your competitors are probably emailing them or dropping by in person, asking for an opportunity? Here they are emailing you with an opportunity. Let's not delay on this. Let's treat this like it's the last one we're ever going to get. That's the type of energy we want to bring. Someone gave me a book called The Fred Factor. again, I've changed this was in the past couple years. I just meet someone in business and we have a conversation similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
So the next time they come to my office, they bring me this book. They say, hey, I think you might like this. It's called The Fred Factor. Very skinny book. And I read through it. And it's about a mailman named Fred who's been with the U.S. Postal Service for years. And he just delivers mail to your home.
Mm-hmm.
But he does it in an exceptional way every day without fail. If it looks like a storm is upon the horizon, he'll bring your mail to the front door and put it inside your storm door.
Yep.
If Amazon's dropped off a package that looks to be of value or it looks like you're not home, he'll bring it around to your back door.
Mm-hmm.
When the holidays comes around, Fred puts a note in your mailbox that says, it's been a pleasure serving your family this year.
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God, this is it. Even if you're delivering mail, you can play this game.
Yep.
Does that make sense? So whether it's the plumber route, yeah, you can be a plumber, but you can also own 30 trucks too if you want to play the game a little bit higher. Like we can all bring that Fred factor, if you will, to any part of our life. There's nothing stopping us.
Yeah, it's that value-driven mentality. Like this is when I'm coaching people on the social media side of things, I'm like, you're not winning because you're just going out here and trying to sell people nonstop. You're not adding value. There are only two reasons why anybody ever stops on a social media post. One, they're being educated, or two, they're being entertained. No one wants to be sold to. And I abide by the formula of 80-20. 80% of the content I put out needs to be value-driven. The other 20% is sales. So I've actually had to go to my team here the last week. I was like, hey, I need you guys to kind of kick my butt a little bit and kick me in gear because I'm not selling enough. Like I'm putting out too much value. And in the early days when I first got it started, I had that mentality of, well, I don't have the client base. I don't have the experience. So I'm just going to go out and teach people what I know. And for like a straight year, I didn't ask anybody to buy anything from me. It was just like, how much value can I add? Yes. And then all of a sudden people are like, well, hey, you seem to know what you're talking about. I don't feel like doing this. Why don't I just hire you? And I think if more people led with that value-driven thought process instead of what can I get out of this situation, like every room I walk into, I'm like, what tidbit can I give this person? Or even if it's like, see somebody, you're at a networking event, and somebody's like, oh, I'm going to grab a drink. Hey, man, I'm about to go over there. What do you want? I'll grab it for you. Yeah. Just those little things, and they're like, you know what, man, I like this guy. Like, because he's doing something a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. So I love that Fred factor. Matter of fact, I'm going to put that on my Amazon list right now. You said it's the Fred factor?
Yes.
All right.
You'll enjoy that one.
Now, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's get right into...
And so what you just said there before we move on to the next thing, I heard Andy Elliott say, it could have been Zig Ziglar, but he said, if you help others get what they want, you can have everything that you want.
Everything, dude.
I'm telling you, I've experienced that in the health coaching business, starting that business 2 years ago. Imagine being a 250-pound guy in the past trying to sell your services to help other people, become more metabolically flexible, right? Like teach them how to burn through stored energy. It takes you a while to say, you know what, I am that guy who knows exactly what he's talking about because I've done it for dozens of people. Everyone who comes around me all of a sudden finds balance when it comes to this. So once you start to see that and feel that, boom, the value's there. And then next thing you know, you're not bringing clients to you who are expecting a $250 program. Yeah. People know that, hey, we're going to come and it's going to be costly because, again, this is tried and true.
But the return they're getting on it.
Exactly.
If I hand you $1,000 and you can 10X it for me, why would I not do that?
And price is going to be your biggest qualifier too, because trust me, I learned in the coaching business working with people who, want to pay lower costs and maybe negotiate that cost.
The coupon clippers.
That's not who I want to be spending my time with.
Especially
in a business that I'm just doing because I love it, which is health coaching. Remember, I do techno full time, which I love. I'm blessed to love too. But the health coaching piece, this is not anything that I'm doing because I financially want to make it. This is something that I want to have you, bring your commitment to it, and I want you to help, my price point is going to just further qualify who comes to see me. Yeah.
1,000%. Like the coupon, I've learned, and I think it took me too long in business to learn this lesson. The people I charge the most money to are the best clients, man. Like they don't gripe, they don't complain. We send them a video that it's the most wonderful thing they've ever seen before. the person who came to me negotiating, saying, I can't quite do that. Can you knock $200 off of it? Da da da. When you send them something, they're like, well, this wasn't quite what I was expecting. Like, actually, let's do this. What did you even hire me for? Like, obviously, you're the expert then. So why aren't you doing this yourself?
That's right.
So learning that lesson in business is a huge one. Because I never want to come to the office, and I never want anybody on my staff to come to the office and be like, I ain't coming to work today. No, you should be excited. Like, man, we got a new opportunity. It's a new day. Like I've always told people, Monday is my favorite day of the week. Most people, it's Friday. I love Monday because it's another week I get to get started. I get to do something new. And the cool thing about being an entrepreneur, you never know what any day is going to hold. To me, it's the gamification of entrepreneurship. Like I love sitting across from the table. And don't get me wrong, I'm not exactly where I want to be financially. I'm way further along than I used to be.
Yeah.
But I still have goals and things like that we're trying to achieve financially. But to come into a space and sit across the table from someone who, first off, didn't know if they even need your service, and they may just been taking that meeting because someone told them to. But then by the time you get up from the table, they can't see themselves continuing forward with their business without at least looking at a service like yours. To me, that's the game. The check is the cherry on top. Yeah. I love the game part of entrepreneurship. But let's jump into, and I want to take this in sections.
Yeah.
So first, let's talk about the alcohol piece. So you said several times during the show today that you cut off alcohol 4 years ago. The sense I've gotten in the stories I've heard from you, it was never, at least from my perspective, it didn't seem like you were a raging alcoholic and like you were walking around the office drunk or anything like that. It was just like, hey, I like having a bourbon at the end of the day, have a couple beers, like, hey, we're out at a sports bar, yeah, I'm going to consume that. It didn't seem like it got to the point where like it was wrecking your life. But what was it that made you say, because for a lot of guys, man, that's a drastic move because like it's also that social crutch. Like you go to an event, you're expected to drink. What was it for you that made you say, this is something in my life I got to cut off?
I've been asked that several times. Like, what was it that made me stop on March 28th of 2022? Was it a specific thought, a moment, an occurrence? I would just call it an accumulation of just regret and just shame. Like it became such a mountain of it that I couldn't live the same way.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just so much mental torment and trauma, so much power given to a substance that it was just stealing time from everything in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't play fully with my kids in the yard because I'm managing a freaking IPA, or a Woodford. I'm kind of like one-handing things around my kids. I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
So that's it. I think it was just the constant loop of grief and shame, which when you're operating like that, it's hard to be positive and escape negativity. It just all stacked up. So ripped it off. I can remember telling my wife, hey, it's been one day, no alcohol. Like literally, hey, honey, one day, no booze. She'd be like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I was celebrating that. And then I got to day 3 and I'm like, man, day 3. Day 21, I'm texting my boy Andy. I'm like, dude, I'm 21 days. No, he's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, 21, nothing. I'm not going back. 3 months after I stopped drinking, my 40th birthday came around, right? So like, what's the thing to do on your 40th? Have a big celebration with alcohol, shots, everything. I got to my 40th with my crew. We had a wonderful evening, wonderful night out, and not everyone, but a few guys were like, come on, man, like you're really not going to have one on your 40th. Like, this is just kind of what we do. This is what we've been doing. And I just said, no. I said, I'm done. And I knew after I didn't do any partaking on my 40th that it was locked, you know. I was starting to see some of the physical results of it pretty quickly. And speaking of physical, man, my wife wanted nothing to do with me if I've been drinking. I think women tolerate it when they're dating you and early on in marriage. But I think after a while, they start to get a little nervous.
I was going to ask you, did your wife bring any of this to your attention?
She's a big part. I think as men, we can make them nervous when we're not dialed in. And when we want an emotional, physical, intimate relationship with our women, but they don't feel safe with us, it's going to be hard for us to get that energy from them. And I can remember just really feeling so sad to think that I'm not going to have that relationship with my wife that I thought I was going to have. And if we're talking intimate, it was that intimate relationship. I mean, I kind of knew what the frequency was as far as when it was happening in my marriage, And I was very aware of that number and very resentful of that number. Just kind of thinking like, well, what do you mean? You know, we're not going to do it like we've been doing it, or like everything was changing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then once I quit drinking, again, I got exposed to guys like Jim Rohn, Jordan Peterson. I actually saw Jordan Peterson live at the Altria Theater when he came to
Oh,
town.
nice.
I got exposed to these guys and the way that they think, and all of a sudden, I just realized that I'm in complete control of this situation. If your wife is not expressing interest, you're in complete power of this situation
Yeah.
because you can start making different choices that build the man, the avatar, the game you talk about playing.
Mm-hmm.
You can build them. You can build a desirable man. You
Yep.
know, it's going to take some time, and you're still not going to get what you want at the rate in which you want it for months, if not a year or so
Mm-hmm.
out. But if you're willing to put the work in and change your energy, right, and show that you are the guy,
Yeah.
then it's all going to start coming back.
And a
you're
year
gonna
out ain't shit.
it ain't shit, and you're going to feel worthy of it
Yeah.
when you get it. As men, like
Mhm.
that is, it's just that was a big driver for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was just being with my wife. Another place we lose that energy is we all go online, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Mhm.
But we grew up in a culture. I'm 43. When I was in high school, it was American Pie. When I was in college, it was Van Wilder. Everything we watched was, especially MTV back then, it was
Mhm.
all promiscuity.
Yeah.
It was alcohol. It was not being faithful. I mean, they even had a show called Cheaters. I mean,
Mhm.
it was just kind of put in the mainstream as just kind of a way we should be.
Yeah.
And so I tried very hard to emulate it. I mean, I really did. I tried my hardest. So I brought forth habits into my relationship that I should have let go a long time ago.
Mhm.
And like I said, one of them was going online. I found it very interesting that I quit drinking alcohol 4 years ago. And here's something that I can say that I'm the most proud of. I haven't seen another naked woman in the last 4 years other than my wife.
Mm.
I haven't. And I was researching it online, like how come you get rid of this and this goes with it?
Yeah.
It's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Not only the alcohol, but the online distraction. And that's the
Mhm.
bucket I'm going to put it in. Because we have a set amount of energy within us every single day.
Yeah.
We wake up, batteries loaded, and throughout the day, throughout our circadian rhythm, throughout how we
Mhm.
move our body, the food choices that we make, the thoughts that we keep, we control that energy.
Mhm.
And as men, when we have some downtime or we're stressed about something or we're just, quite frankly, looking for a distraction,
Mhm.
when we're bored, when we give our energy to that,
Mhm.
we are stealing from our family.
Yeah. It's taken away.
We are stealing from our business. We are stealing from our community. I am so proud that I feel like I'm honoring my wife the most every time I'm with her when I know that when we're together, she's getting 100% of that part of my life.
Mhm.
And I know she feels it when we're together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a completely different energy.
Mhm.
That's what I'm most proud of. In fact, 4 years into the Primal Journey that I've been on, it was so easy to talk about the alcohol thing,
Yeah.
because it's very mainstream, it's everywhere. Well, maybe you could say porn's everywhere too, but within the past year or so, my desire on my podcast and in speaking with men is to talk more and more about the porn side of it.
Mhm.
And it's something that I'm learning more and more about, but I can just tell you the absence of it in my life has let me take that energy that I'm speaking about that we have every single day that we're
Yeah.
responsible for. And if it's not techno, if it's not primal, if it's
Mhm.
not my kid's sporting event, if it's not finding a way to make my wife's life easier,
Mhm.
if it's not educating myself on another topic, all that energy is being invested back into the family. It's not
Yeah.
going online.
Yeah.
It's not going to fantasy football. I was coaching this one guy and he's like, "Hey man, he did a great job." This was last year. He's like, "Hey, I went for the walk that we were talking about, trying to burn fat." He goes, "Dude, I spent the last 2 hours walking and I looked at everybody's fantasy team roster on my fantasy in our league.
Mhm.
And so like, I'm just checking what these matchups are going to be like, this and that." And I'm like, "I'm very proud of you for walking for 2 hours." But I said, "Have you ever considered listening to a podcast
Yeah.
about metabolic flexibility?
You're taking that same energy that you spend 2 hours researching on fantasy football and put that towards something
Or how
else.
if I eat this, this will happen to me?"
Yep.
right? Or something about how I can make my wife's decision to marry me the best decision she could ever make in her life. Like
Mm-hmm.
something other than fantasy football,
Yeah.
and that's been the biggest thing I'm aware of right now is just
Yeah.
how we've lost control of where we're focusing. So that's why I respect you and I've enjoyed watching you grow throughout your process online since you've been in my realm, if you
Yeah.
will, because you're doing it. You're staying consistent. You're learning. When you and I had a conversation about how we can help each other in business, we heeded each other's advice immediately and
Mm-hmm.
started making changes directly in alignment with growing together. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like we don't take things personal. We just
Yeah.
look for,
No.
you know what I'm saying? We just look for opportunity.
Yeah.
You know,
I think a lot of what you just hit on, it's more the American culture than anything else. So
yeah,
I was reading something the other day. I think so. The guy who founded OnlyFans just recently died at the age of 43. And if you do your research in terms of the stars of those industries, a lot of them have died and succumbed to whether it's alcoholism or suicide or whatever it is. Like it's a nasty industry. But in that article, I was also reading that other countries, they've banned things like that.
hmm
Like you can't be an OnlyFans star in China. Like you can't get a subscription. Like even you look at our systems with like TikTok. The feed that teenagers see in China on their TikTok compared to the feed that kids in America see on their TikTok. And TikTok came from these Asian cultures.
yeah.
And they're not willing, they're looking at us like, man, you guys let your kids look at this. We're not doing that. And like
Yeah.
we're the creators of that. So I think oftentimes like we kind of just fall into these norms of like, oh, this is how it is. We live in America. It doesn't have to be like that.
It doesn't. My wife is from Eastern Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and so she came over here to the States probably early 2000s, but grew up in Eastern Europe. And yeah, I can remember having conversations with her about just how vulgar things are
Yeah.
in the States and how the entertainment is so crude and the jokes are just ridiculous. And I had to change a lot of my behavior, just to
Mm-hmm.
be in the same room with her. Like I
Yeah.
really had to watch what I would typically joke about,
Mm-hmm.
But yes, just always more, yeah.
It's the overconsumption of everything here. Like,
It is. I've experienced it, man. I'm telling you, this is why I call it the Primal Journey. This is not a
mm-hmm.
destination. My oldest is 12 now, but at 11, he was playing on an 11U baseball team, and several of these kids had cell phones at 11.
Mm-hmm.
And we're traveling. We're in different cities, and in between baseball games, these kids are on cell phones, playing brain rot. I mean, like they're literally calling it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing all these games. They're in Snapchats with people. Like literally, I'm looking at a baseball team in between games, just all huddled around on phones. No one's talking to each other, and everyone's just on phones. We go out to dinner. No one's talking to each other. Everyone's on phones. And I realized that I lost my son to the phone because that phone came back into our house. And next thing you know, he's carrying it everywhere. He's asking to keep it in his bedroom when he goes to sleep. He's coming and getting in my car with his phone. And he's literally riding shotgun, whipping out a phone. And I'm like, man, I was not prepared for this. I just
Yeah.
didn't think this would be it. Well, it got out of control. And so even though we had all the parameters in place they tell you to put in place, the whole conversation becomes about my son's phone because he's
Yeah.
always asking for more time. It's just a thing. So we got rid of the phone. I will tell you the reaction from him was something I've never heard from him before or expected to see from him, which taught me so much about life. And the fact is that I don't believe that the devil is anything I will ever see in a physical, three-dimensional realm, if you will. Like, I don't think I'll ever put my hands on him.
Yeah.
Taught me that lesson because the devil is literally in this virtual world where your children are stolen from you while they're in your household. He was in my house, but he technically wasn't. I can
Yeah.
remember he'd come down to the living room and he'd be sitting on the couch on the phone, and I'm cooking dinner or doing something. And I can remember saying, hey, man, if you want to be present, be present. If not, just go to your room with your phone.
Yeah.
So he'd get up and go to his room with the phone. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like he's gone.
Yeah.
Like this is him now. So anyways, we pulled it and got it back. And I'm just telling you, Sam, that he doesn't have a phone now. And I don't know when he ever will. But it has been so nice to have him back, and I'm so much more aware of
Yeah.
the path it could have gone down. And every time I get to spend time with him, which is most days, he goes to Burn Boot Camp with me for the 5:15 class every morning, Monday through
Nice.
Friday. We spend a lot of valuable time together, but we both went through a very difficult spot with that. There were tears, but he's back, and I'm not losing him again.
So how does that work with this friend circle? Because I'm sure like kids are.
Well, it's different. So now the baseball team goes to dinner, and 3 of them have phones. And so out of those 3, there's 3 guys over their shoulder
Yeah.
trying to look at the phones because those guys don't have phones. And there's a couple kids just sitting there trying to have an old school conversation together, you know, or color on something, you know. So you're just seeing it's very fragmented.
Yeah.
All of our households have different beliefs, and we've had different experiences when it comes to this. We're all in different places with it, you know. Like it breaks my heart when I go out to the soccer fields or baseball fields and it's a beautiful sunny day and here's your child on the ground this close to an iPad while the game's right in front of them. Or I go to a beautiful resort that we spend money on every year to have a wonderful dinner with my family, like a 5-star dinner, and the family next to me is watching, Disney.
Yeah.
And I've even been in restaurants where they don't even have headsets on. Like they just have the iPad making sound. And I'm just the level of awareness where some people are is just insane. They're completely lost.
Yeah.
If we can't go to these outdoor events or restaurants and just feel the gratitude and appreciation for the fact that we're sitting here having this meal, and teach your kids how to be excited about food. I mean, I take my kids, we don't go out to eat very often because it's very hard to eat while going out to eat, but we have a few restaurants that we cycle. But when my kids go, they get the steak, they get the filet. Because it's so rare that we're here. I want them to get what they want, and they know from being in my household that red meat's going to be the key to the whole thing, right? So they get the expensive stuff, but what I tell them, and as a business owner, you know this, we don't spend money, we circulate.
Yeah.
That's my mindset everywhere I go. I don't spend recklessly anymore, and it all starts with food, right?
Yeah.
It's that $18 strip of ribeye, versus the $8.50 Jimmy John sandwich.
Yeah.
It's going to be 2 completely different outcomes if we eat these things consistently over a given period of time, you know? So everything that we do, we circulate with currency. The food comes back into emotions, into positivity, right? You eat food that is in alignment with your hormones, with your DNA. Next thing you know, you start creating thoughts that are of abundance, and you can take over the world. It's different when you go into a meeting with a ribeye mentality versus a cornflakes mentality.
Yep.
I'm telling you, because you need to eat the most nutrient-dense, bioavailable foods that keep your blood sugar stable and that keep you in a energy growth mode, right? Where we're moving energy out into the community, out into the world, if you will. If you're eating a lot of sugary foods that stimulate insulin, insulin's main role is to make you store energy. How can you burn fat when you're storing energy, right? So part of what I coach people on is when we are making these food choices with the money that we have, we need to ask ourselves, what is going to stimulate insulin?
Yeah. Let's stay on the
I'm sorry, I know I get
No, you're good. This is perfect. Let's stay on the health piece. How can I phrase this correctly? I'm not worried about pissing people off. This is my show. I can say what I want. So I know for me, well, I'll say in general, let's say you and another guy that do the exact same business that you do. You both walk in. You're in the 1% of guys in our age group, and this guy's morbidly obese. He could have 20 more years experience. More than likely, they're going to choose you because the first impression you make with someone is how you look. Not necessarily what you're wearing, but how you physically look. And people are going to look at your appearance and say, well, if this guy's that dedicated to maintaining his health, maintaining his physique and his body, if he has that much attention to detail, what can he do with my account?
Yeah. And
I think that's a big thing because I saw, what's her name? Jillian Roberts. Like when Kirk, who's the guy that just passed away? Erica Kirk's husband?
Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
I don't know why that name was just escaping me. You remember when he used to do those debates, not on the college campuses, but when they had that forum where like people put up the red flag, he'd name a topic and somebody hit a button and sit down at the table.
Yeah.
So Julie, I can't remember her name. She was from The Biggest Loser. She was one of the trainers.
Julian Michaels?
Yeah, Julian Michaels, which I love her, by the way.
Yeah.
But I was tripping over these discussions because she was like referring to someone and saying, okay, when you're morbidly obese, and she's like, we don't say morbidly obese. We now say this, and they come up with some other term. And one of them was basically just saying fat. She's like, you think saying fat's better than morbidly obese? It's like, this is a scientific term. Like, you're morbidly obese. I think a lot of people don't understand what they're bringing into a room when they bring that.
Yeah, so I call it over-energized, if you want to call it something. They're just storing too much energy.
I'm going to call them obese.
Hey, whatever you want to call them. But in the health coaching realm, I speak to a lot of people who are over-energized, who are storing too much.
And let me clarify this before I get too many comments. I'm the type of guy, I'm a little old school when it comes to this. Like, during COVID, I put on, so my wife was also pregnant, and we were all locked in the house, so there was nothing to do but eat. First time I saw my best friend after COVID, I was like, hey, man, what's up? He's like, damn, bro, you got fat. And you know what I did? I didn't go, oh, my God, why would he talk to me like that? You know what I did? The next day, I got my ass back to the gym.
Took the feedback.
Yeah, you take the feedback and you move forward with it. And if the closest people to me can't say that. So when I'm saying this.
Get rid of your ego.
Yeah, it's, hey, if you need to change something, let's address it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, you gotta drop your ego, which is what you did. And say, okay, yes, feedback. I appreciate it. Let me do the work. The thing I will tell you about how we represent ourselves physically when it comes to doing business, I agree with everything you said, but I also try to help my son understand this too, because a lot of kids don't like to make their bed. They don't like to put their clothes away. I don't even like to do that every day, but I do it because I understand the importance of it. But what I just told my oldest this the other night. I said, the way you're keeping your room is a direct reflection of your mind. I said, as above, so below. I said, the way we keep our thoughts and our belief system will show up in how you keep your room. If you're disorganized, not optimistic, scatterbrained, you're going to treat your room that exact same way.
Yep.
So it's hard to get out of that cycle if your room is reflecting this organization all the time too. I will say he makes his bed every single morning. He doesn't miss on that. He's really good at that. So that's my personal belief system, and that's what gives me confidence when I go into meetings, is that I feel like my physical health and my energy, my aura that I bring into the room is a direct reflection of my belief system, because that's what's going to show in the physical state.
And how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Absolutely. That's the way I try to treat the entire thing.
Yeah, and I'm a stickler for, like, you were in my office a minute ago. I don't keep my office in disarray. Like, you get in my car, you will think I bought that car yesterday. I keep my car pristine. I can't stand getting in the car and junk's all over the place. Like, you got to keep that stuff clear. And on the other piece with the health side of things too, is once I realized that entrepreneurship was a full contact sport, it changed my mentality when it came to health. I get up at 4:45 every morning and get my butt to the gym because I know I'm going to perform better for my team, for my wife, for my kids, for my clients, if I'm taking care of myself physically. Now, it's not about me getting an 8-pack or anything like that. I just want to feel good and have good longevity, like good quality of life. Like, I've never wanted to. We started having kids when I was 35 when we had our first kid, 34, 35. And my fear, because our parents started having kids when they were like 21, 22 years old. And for me, not starting until mid-30s, my biggest fear was being that dad at the high school graduation that's all hunchback and got a cane, and kids are like, is that your grandpa or is that your dad? So I just always had that image in my head, like, I just want to make sure that I'm around to be able to do the things with my kids that they need me to do for this period of their life. But a lot of people just don't understand, like, if you want to be the best entrepreneur you can, you have to take your health seriously.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just roll out of bed and show up. Like, it's in all aspects of your life. And we'll touch on the spiritual piece too, but, like, I just think a lot of people just don't understand. I remember hearing in a podcast one time, this doctor said, if you could put in a bottle the effects that you get from a workout, and if you could put that in a bottle and we could put it on a shelf at Target, it would sell for thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
dollars. Like
Yeah.
those feelings you get. I've never once walked out of the gym and been like, man, I'm so pissed I got up and worked out today.
Well, that's why I go to Burn Boot Camp every morning. I like that whole community workout
Group
where you've got
dynamic.
60 to 80 people, all
Oof.
getting in between every set. We're high fiving when we're
Yep.
transitioning, heart rate's up. I call it getting the full dose, all
Mhm.
right? Because you get dopamine, you get oxytocin, you get serotonin, and you get endorphins,
Mhm.
right? You get the full dose.
Yep.
So while I might look like a zombie when I walk onto that floor at 5:13 a.m., by the time I'm walking off at 6,
Oh, yeah.
oh my gosh,
juiced up.
we're having insane conversations.
Mhm.
We're walking for laps around the building for the next 30 minutes, just chatting.
Mhm.
It's truly, to your point, something that if you could well, I guess you can bottle and sell. There's a lot of therapies out there and whatnot that people take to try to get that feeling
Yeah.
that the hard work stimulates automatically. But nothing beats it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only way to start my day. In fact, I missed it this morning. I have a 6-month-old puppy, and she was a little yelpy last night. We know if her stomach was bothering her, so my sleep got disrupted early in the morning.
Yep.
So I missed Burn, but my thought process when I made the choice to miss it was like, I hope my energy levels are the same by the time I see Sam.
Yeah.
Like that was my concern. Was like I'm not going to get that same hormone cascade. I'm going to miss it.
Mhm.
But I want to
Also-
show up.
Let's also talk about that, like the guilt of. So I told you when you got here, I'm dealing with the plantar fasciitis thing, and like it literally feels like I'm walking on a sprained ankle. Monday, I still wake up at the normal time. Like my alarm goes off at 4:45. And I had the thought for a second of like, I should probably rest my foot. I probably shouldn't push myself. Da da da. And then that thought immediately went out of my head. It was like, nah, man, there's other stuff you can do in the gym besides that's not going to require you staying on your foot the whole time. Like, so I jumped on ChatGPT, started talking to it. I was like, because I'd already put together a new program for the next 6 weeks. And I was like, hey, I need you to make the adjustments. I'm dealing with the foot thing. I don't want to skip. Make the adjustments so I can still get the workout and I'm still going to achieve my goals. But this morning I woke up, pain was killing me. Like I woke up my body just woke up at 3:30 this morning because my foot was hurting so bad. Had to put in Epsom salt, and I'm sitting here
Yeah.
doing massages and stuff like that. I'm like, and since I was up and down all night, I was like, I can't. Like, my body needs the rest. Talk to us about like having those moments where it's okay, because I feel like as long as you're doing something consistently, it's okay to have those days where your body will tell you, hey, you need to rest. And I can make that up on a Saturday or something like that. We can go get in on the gym on Saturday or Sunday, walk around the block, something. But I think a lot of people have that bad feeling of like, oh, I can't ever miss a day.
Well, you do, especially when you're in the recomp phase, especially when you're running that new program, you're figuring it out, you're seeing the results. Now you're really panicky if you
Yeah.
miss a day, right? You think you're going to lose all that traction that you had. What I can tell you is recovery is key. So what you're dealing with in your foot and plantar fasciitis is feedback from the body that something's out of balance, right? Therefore, you get the tightening of the tendons. It can't relax, and it feels like you're walking on icicles, if you will.
Yep.
So that's direct feedback. So what I would do in that situation is rest and recover, and I would make sure I'm just eating food that's not inflammatory. I'd make sure I'm drinking water with salt. I'd make sure I'm getting sunlight. Sunlight stimulates your immune system, right? So if there's any inflammation, it can help. I'm just honoring the recovery piece during this time.
Yeah.
And to your point, it could be work a different part of your body, or it's like, hey, keep the wake up, but read the book, right?
Yeah.
Like spend time in scripture or something, just divert that energy somewhere, but still self-invest it.
Yeah. Let's try and perfect segue. So I was about to go right into the spirituality piece of things. I made this post the other day on my Facebook. So I was finishing around the golf with some buddies Saturday. No, Friday. And I kid you not. I don't know how people exist on this earth and don't think that God's real, man, because it shows up in so many areas of my life. But,
I've tried.
dude, so we'll get into
I've
that.
tried.
So we finished up the round, had a great time with my guys. I'm sitting in the car, and I try to stay off my phone when I'm playing around the golf. Like, these are my buddies. I want to enjoy the company. Let's focus on the game. Something just quietly spoke to me and said, hey, man, you got a bunch of messages on your phone. Before you take off, just sit here and get caught up on your messages. And then I was running to get some food for the family. And ordinarily, I wouldn't do that. Ordinarily, I just jump in the car, go where I need to go next. And, my next stop is where I'll catch up on the messages. But something told me, sit here for 2-3 minutes, catch up on your text messages, and then take off. I'm sitting there and I'm just wrapping up the last text message, and I hear this big boom. Like it almost sounded like when the Transformers like pop on, like that's what it sounded like. So I'm like, oh, that was weird. Didn't think anything of it. I start to back out of my spot, and mind you, I'm literally like the spot where I was parked is like right near the exit. So I back up, not paying attention to my surroundings, and I start to pull out, and I notice all these guys, like their golf carts are just all scattered right here by the exit. And I'm like, well, that's rude. That's not proper golf etiquette. Why are you guys doing that? And I start to pull out, and there was a massive accident right there. Like I ended up talking to the drivers, but like one was literally just on the road doing their thing, and this other car just creeped into their lane, hit them head on. And the first thought in my head, was, let's see if they're okay. So it was me and a couple guys ran to the cars. Everybody was cool. But then after I got my gatherings together, I was like, that could have easily been me. Had I the timing of it all, because I ran it all back in my head. Had I not checked my phone and caught up on my text message and just jumped in the car, because it was the same direction I was going that car was going. Had I just jumped in the car and gone, that could have been a major life changer for me. And immediately I just felt like the gratitude. I'm like, thank you, God, for making sure that I wasn't the one involved in this. Let's talk about how spirituality has played a role in your life. So, like, I grew up in the church. Like, I've been a PK my whole life. My dad was a pastor since the day I was born. So, my spiritual journey is a lot different than probably a lot of people's.
No wonder you're so good on those reels when you do your little pastor skit. That makes sense now. I'm tying it all together.
So the guy who is the church that my dad pastored for the majority of my life, my mom is still a member there in Lynchburg. And he never got to meet my dad, but he's seen like old DVDs and heard the stories of my dad. And he follows me on Facebook. And when he first saw that first video, he's like, dude, this is scary. He's like, you look and sound and have the exact same mannerisms as your dad. But I'm like, man, I had a front row seat for 20 some years watching him every Sunday in the pulpit. So I had that journey where religion was crammed down my throat from 0 to 18, and then once you hit 18 and you go off to college, now it's a choice. Like, am I going to be a Christian? Am I going to practice this belief? And kind of walked away from it for a minute because again, I was a PK, like totally guarded. I never had a cigarette, a drink, never had sex, none of that up until my 18th year because I was one of those ones like no sex till marriage. And then second semester at Longwood, something just snapped, and I was like, "Nah, I'm wilding now."
Yeah, you become your environment.
Yeah, and then the last couple of years, like my faith has gotten a lot stronger, and I've been able to implement that into my daily walk, how I engage with other people, but also I find it very hard to be an entrepreneur without some North Star, to not have that. So, talk to us about your experience where you said this hadn't always been your journey. Talk to us about how you found your way to your faith.
Our paths are very similar. I'm not the son of a pastor, but my parents were heavily involved in church. My dad was a deacon. I went to Sunday school from as early as I can remember, sang in the boys' choir, did the bells, bells during service.
I had to learn piano. I was playing piano in the choir at some point.
Yeah, we had a boys group called the Brethren, and so we would sing. So very involved. Wednesday night suppers, youth group. But when I went to college, very similar to your point, I was 18. The wheels came off when I got there. Just all the temptation and the environment. Yeah. Everywhere you went, promiscuity, alcohol, drugs, it was all pushed at you. Everything on MTV was just vile and just gross when I look back at it now. So I fell out of the practice of going to church. Just would attend around the holidays if I was in town. Yeah. Then I moved to Virginia Beach, lived there for 5 years, didn't have a church. Came back to Richmond in 2010 and never really started going back to church. Like I said, I might go once or twice a year.
Yeah.
I remember when the ISIS stuff was happening. I don't remember what year this was, maybe 2013, 2014, 2015. I can remember just being in my office, and I had several people working for me. And one in particular, we were talking about this, and this is back when they were like literally beheading people.
Yeah.
Burning people alive in cages in the name of religion or whatever it was.
And that shit was going on YouTube too.
It was going on YouTube. I can remember seeing like a news anchor or something being beheaded like on live TV. And just shame on me for seeing this stuff. But you know what it did? it drove me further away from God. I said, how in the hell can you justify this? In fact, I want nothing to do with this. I can remember being in my office around that ISIS time period and telling people that, hey, I don't believe in any of that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done with it all. Like, I'm an atheist, or I'm a free thinker, right? I would say these types of things. I'd have no trouble being in meetings with new people and talking and saying, yeah, I don't believe in any of that. Or I'd roll my eyes at the sound of it. And that's the way I lived my life. That was the toughest decade of my life. And it was the most suffering I've ever experienced in my life. Looking back on it now, I didn't know it at the moment.
Yeah.
Looking back now, it is, because of this question you've asked, it is the most I've ever suffered in my life when I've tried to remove it from my life, when I've tried to not understand it. I can tell you that once I quit drinking alcohol and I kept getting in that fight or flight nervous state all the time, that scarcity mindset, once the fog could lift and I
Yeah.
could get beyond that, and the porn went away and everything else subtracted out of my life, it made room for the words of Jesus to be brought into my life. I could actually take some time to understand them and
Yeah.
try to think differently about them. You know, the way you read a Bible hits different for a 7-year-old and a 17-year-old
Oh, yeah.
and a 43-year-old, right? And I'll continue to
Yep.
gain that perspective throughout life. But the way I read it now at 43, I can tell you it has brought an end to my suffering because it has made me understand the power that I have within myself.
Yep.
I feel like Jesus did a great job of speaking that message, and we're lucky that people were around him to write down that message. So I truly believe that if we're able to read that message and understand that message and run that program as consistently as we possibly can, we can end our suffering. And then if we become really good at it, we can help those around us and truly just spread it into the community. So within the past year or two, this has been completely different for me in my faith. And I am so thankful for getting in the room with people of the same belief system.
Yeah.
It's meant so much. And so that's my choice every day, is to be around other people of that same mindset and share everything that I can. And I feel like learning about the human body as I went through this health coaching certification program through the Primal Health Coaching Institute, learning about the body, if I wasn't spiritual before then, I definitely am now, because it is the most unbelievable system that is just seeking balance that I've ever learned about in my life. Just blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy how the human body works.
Everything we consume, whatever we input, we output. That's the best way I can describe it to you. Everything that you eat breaks down into a certain molecular shape and size. And based on that shape and size, it gets allowed to go certain places in the body to do certain things.
Yep.
Like that kind of crazy. And the pharmaceutical industry does a great job of trying to knock off these molecule shape and sizes with synthetic drugs.
Yep.
But all these things that you want are available within nature. No one's just taught you how to go get it, right? So what you're doing is you're falling victim to having the TV on and seeing these ads every segment for these therapies and replacements that are going to be the cure-all for you. When at the end of the day, it's just man using petroleum-based products to create molecular shape size things that go in your body and get your body to run certain programs.
Yeah.
A GLP-1 is a classic example. You're hearing a lot about peptide therapies, right? When you think about the human body, we have L cells in the bottom of our small intestine, right before our large intestine, that make the GLP-1 peptide hormone. I mean, they physically manufacture them there and then input them into the bloodstream. Once they do that, they reach the brain and signal the brain that, hey, Sam's made some pretty good food choices. In fact, we have all the macronutrients covered. You can now slow down offloading the stomach, right? Let's slow down digestion. Let's remove the hunger feeling because Sam has been successful. But you have to eat whole foods that require a digestive process to travel the necessary 30-foot journey to reach those L cells, to send those signals to naturally produce that hormone.
Yeah.
People don't want to eat whole foods, right? They think there's something inconvenient about it. It's too costly to do it, right?
I was going to say, that's the
It takes
argument
too
for
much
most people.
time. So they'd rather go get a peptide therapy that costs, I don't really know the true cost of it, hundreds of dollars. I know that they inject it maybe once a week.
Yeah.
And these peptides, which are similar to what we naturally produce, simply go through, stick on certain membranes, send certain signals. They send a fullness signal, essentially.
Yeah.
And when people take these GLP-1s, that the scary part about them is that the fullness signal you get from a GLP-1 lasts a lot longer than what your natural GLP-1 creates. So typically after you eat a whole foods meal, you're not hungry for the next 3 to 5 hours, right? Because those GLP-1s do their job and then they dissipate and then hunger comes back.
Yeah.
But when you take the synthetic version, they really stick to your membranes and blunt that hunger, hormone, if you will. So next thing you know, you're just not hungry. In fact, you're telling everybody, I'm just not hungry, and you're losing all this weight. And when you do eat, you're still not making the right food choices. So now you're just undernourished and you get on the scale and see, oh my gosh, I've lost 10 pounds this month, or probably more on a GLP-1. I've lost 20 pounds, but you don't know what's happening inside your body.
Yeah.
You're looking at total weight. You're not looking at muscle mass. You're not looking at body fat. So they can be very dangerous in the regard that, yes, while you see yourself physically losing weight, you don't understand what it's doing to the composition on the inside, right? Especially with guys our age, and ladies, we need muscle mass as we age. Muscle makes us metabolically flexible.
Yep.
You want to eat carbs, have big muscles because the body's going to store it in those muscle systems, right? A lot of us who need to lose weight just need to look at the carbs, right? Because when we have too many carbs, the liver turns them into triglyceride. We store them as fat. And for some of us, we're running out of room, right? We've got a lot of subcutaneous fat. We've got that dangerous visceral fat in and around our organs. I call that's the widowmaker fat. That's the real dangerous stuff. And when I work with folks, what we do is just go right at that. And we basically use a ketogenic diet. We really try to understand when insulin is out in our body.
Yeah. How important, you kind of hit on something, so I'm going to park it there for a second. I think things really woke up for me, health and physical fitness has been a big part of my life for, you grew up being an athlete. I played soccer, I ran cross country and track and all that kind of stuff. The big slip was when we started having kids. Nobody told me when your wife gains all that pregnancy weight that you'll gain it too. Because when she's like, hey, I'd really enjoy that Blizzard from Dairy Queen, and she's like, well, you're not gonna have one too? Don't make me, okay, I guess I'll have one too.
Yeah.
But once you hit that 40 mark, I think for a lot of guys, we start evaluating where we are. And I'm just looking at what the next 40 years will look for me. And I'm like, if I don't maintain a certain lifestyle now, man, I'm going to be paying for it later on down the road.
You say the next 40, so that puts you at 80. But in Genesis, it says we go to 120. So we can hit 120.
Yeah.
Right? We've got the genetic code. The cells are structured that we can ride it out, that far. So that's my number. I want to hit past 100, and I want to do it very well. And I think I've got the plan in place.
Yeah.
Because like I said earlier, man, it's all about balance. What you said about trying to maintain that workout schedule with the plantar fasciitis, David Goggins is out there. I highly respect the guy. He has done some unbelievable things while having a broken foot or a broken knee. He is just he's done this, right?
Yep.
But that's not necessarily a longevity strategy, right? It's great for recomp. It's great for stress, right? Stress is great when it's acute, right? But when it's chronic, when we are consistently putting ourselves at a disadvantage, then we're going to really be in that fight or flight stress state. So, the key is just the balance piece of it. And so for me, it's walking. It's eating meat every single day.
Well, people don't understand how beneficial just the act of walking is. I think it's recommended because before modern technology and everything, I think the average human would probably do somewhere between 20 to 30,000 steps per day. That may be on the low end. Now we're fighting just to get 10,000 steps a day. But especially when the weather gets nice like this, what I'll typically do is if I'm taking a Zoom call or something like that, if I'm not required to be sitting in front of the computer, I have to pull up some docs or something like that, I'll take that Zoom call on my phone and I'll walk around the block here around my office.
Yeah.
And just that little piece of getting those extra steps in, I don't think many people realize how valuable, because everybody's looking at sprinting and running a 440 and all this other. But dude, just walk.
Yeah, walking is fantastic. It's a big part of my program when I put together these programs for clients. And this is why you have an aerobic max heart rate
Mm,
for the reason that inside every cell in your body, or most cells, 40 trillion of them, you have mitochondria.
mm,
And they're the powerhouse of the cell. These are little bacteria inside the cell that look for glucose molecules and fatty acid molecules.
yeah.
And so mitochondria will take either glucose or fatty acids and ingest them and then spit out ATP, right?
Mm,
That's its job, right? To create energy for the cell.
yep.
Well, the mitochondria to burn fat must have oxygen to do
Mm,
that, okay? And it also prefers oxygen to burn sugar, but the cell can burn sugar without oxygen, okay,
yeah.
through something called glycolysis. But when we talk specifically about how can we burn the most fat, you have to be in a highly oxygenated state to get the
Mm,
maximum fat burn, okay? So the formula for that is you take 180 and subtract your age from it,
mm,
and that determines your aerobic max heart rate. So for me, that's 137 beats per minute. All
mm,
right. So when I'm wearing my wearable, right, and I'm walking around taking that call, I'm looking down, and if I'm walking, I'm probably at like 90 to 95 BPM.
yeah.
Okay. So I still have some meat on the bone to get some more oxygen into my system.
Mm,
So at that point, I'll say, okay, well, where can I walk uphill? All right. And I'll find a hilly part. And
yep.
next thing you know, I'm going up and down a hill. I look down, I'm at 120. So I've
Mm,
elevated to 120. I'm still able to be on this call. I'm
yep.
still able to have a conversation with the person next to me. But I know I still have room for more oxygen to burn that stored fat.
Yep.
So put a weighted vest on,
Mm,
right? Now I put this 15-pound vest on. I look down at my wearable. I'm at 135 BPM. Like
yeah.
I am right at the brink. Once I go over my aerobic max, that's when the oxygen dissipates, right?
Mm,
And that's when you're out of breath, right? Like you can't talk to the guy next to you
yeah.
anymore, right? You're in your head now. You can't be on that call
Mm,
because you're trying to gulp air, right? So you
yep.
can continue in this process. Well, in the absence of oxygen, the mitochondria basically shifts to burning more sugar.
Mm,
So you basically, all that stored energy, you stop burning it because now you're in a sugar burning state because
yeah.
you've exceeded your max. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 No, absolutely.
So what I'm telling you is that's the science behind it. There's a doctor, Dr. Phil Maffetone. That's his system, the 180 minus your age.
Mm,
So if fat loss is your goal, and for most people that 10 to 20 pounds is, I'm telling you, all you have to do is walk. You don't need to sign up for the 10K. You don't need to train for the half. If
yeah.
losing stored energy is your goal, you need to walk.
Mm, it's great.
I'm telling you, bro, that will help so many people right there.
Yeah. No,
It helped me
1000%.
tremendously.
Let me ask you one more question on the health side, then we'll wrap up. Creatine. How do you feel about it? I've heard that I've probably been actively taking creatine. I mean, I've done it throughout my life and my sports career, but probably hardcore the last 2 years. Like I don't, when I'm making my pre-workout mix, I always put creatine in it. And
Yeah.
I've been trying to get it in my wife's head because I've seen a bunch of articles coming up that the effects for creatine are even more beneficial for female than they are versus male. And I think it helps with some things like such as dementia and different things like that. Is creatine something you recommend, and why should people be using it?
I like creatine, and the reason I think it's great to supplement it is because the body already makes creatine on
Mm,
its own.
yeah.
It's that valuable of a molecule. The liver and kidneys already make it internally,
Yeah.
right? It's that important. So when we understand the role of this molecule, I think creatine might mean from meat because I know it's found heavily in red meat. I think for
Mm,
every 16 ounces of red meat, you get about 2 grams, which isn't a lot,
yeah.
right? Which is why when you supplement, you typically do that 5 gram dose when
Yep.
you supplement. But being that the body makes it on its own, and it's really an energy storage molecule. It's like taking a power bank
Mm,
and putting it inside the cell. Okay. So the cell's working, you're working out, you're generating ATP in the mitochondria, the cell's keeping pace with your output. Well, when ATP is used for energy within the cell, ATP breaks down into ADP. Okay. It
mm,
loses a phosphate group. So when that ATP molecule breaks down and that energy is used, creatine is right there available in the cell to donate its phosphorus to that ADP, and it turns it back into ATP. And now you get a little extra yield out of that energy.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So when you think about supplementing creatine, what you're basically doing is taking battery packs and putting them inside of your skeletal muscle mass for those moments when you're in that set and you need 3 more.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're recycling energy more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when you talk about cognitive health, why do we get dementia? Because our brain is underpowered.
Yeah.
We're lacking power. Typically because we're eating too much sugar and our brain has lost insulin sensitivity. It's not able to absorb sugar the way that it should. So what does it do? It just starts to power down areas. And guess where it starts? Areas where we manufacture memories and keep our past. So we lose power to it. The great thing about creatine is not only does it stack in your skeletal muscle tissue, but it stacks in your brain. All right. So what I always tell people is like, if you have more muscle mass, typically, you could do more than 5 grams in a day.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I do between 15 and 20 throughout the day because I believe that I have to saturate my muscle tissue and then saturate my brain tissue with it.
Yeah.
And so where it's shown up for me in my life is, dude, I crank through workouts. I am enthusiastic all day. I'm optimistic. When 2 o'clock comes around and I've had my breakfast, which is like 100 grams of protein, it typically takes a lot of time to digest. Pre-creatine, I like to lay down and get like a half-hour nap between 2 and 2:30. I mean, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I nap. Like I try to get it because I'm up at 4:45.
Yeah.
Like I get it where I can. I mean, I could scroll my phone. I could doom scroll, but no, I go to sleep for a half hour. But what I have found when I consistently keep creatine in my daily regimen, I don't feel that urge to nap like I used to. Like I'm truly feeling more cognitive energy. And so I just take that time and invest it into getting more certs in different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just learning more.
Love
right?
it. Love it. And the thing I love about creatine too, it's tasteless. You can literally put it in anything.
Yeah, I like it in hot liquids,
Yep.
whether it's my morning coffee or my afternoon tea. I also like collagen, adding collagen into my coffee or tea. Because collagen, you know, we eat a lot of muscle tissue, but we don't necessarily eat the skin fascia and the ligaments and tendons.
Yeah.
So those are all aminos that we need as well that we don't typically get. So I think adding creatine and collagen into your morning coffee is a fantastic regimen to keep up with.
Love it. This is the question I ask every entrepreneur that comes on this show. I want you to think to your lowest moment as an entrepreneur and how you overcame that.
My lowest moment, like I said, was having someone there doing the work for me because I lacked belief in myself. I hired someone who was very negative, not a good influence, but he was aggressive.
Yeah.
He had no problem knocking on the door, going and drumming up new stuff. He had no problem. He could flush rejection, no problem. Didn't care. Didn't phase him. And he was successful. And my lowest moment is to say that I kind of rode that wave. I kind of let someone stay close to me and impact my life and steal from my family for a very long time.
Yeah.
And thankfully, through forces unseen with COVID, you know, that kind of flattened out a lot of things. And we had no choice but to walk away from some of these relationships that we probably might not have walked away from, right? And we'd still be where we were. So that's the biggest thing. Don't hire anyone to do the work for you. Like if you feel like you're deficient in drumming up new business, why is that? Why are you lacking confidence? Why are you feeling guilt and shame and regret throughout the day, right? Why are you judgy? Why are you being negative towards how you think this outcome might be? Very hard to grow business that way.
Yep.
So what I would do is rather than hire people to do things I don't want to do, I would say, okay, here's where I've got kinks in the armor. Here's where I know I can self-invest. I can get better here, right? I can hire the coaches. I can read the books. I can have the conversations with AI. I can find a way and just own that process.
Yep.
You know?
Love it. Love it. Well, this conversation gave you guys exactly what I told you at the beginning of this. Will did not disappoint. Man, if people want to get more information, they want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
theprimaljourney.com is my website, and I've got my coaching information listed there. I also have a sign up for my weekly newsletter. And if you want to get, it's called the Primal Weekly. So I send an email out where I talk about, I put an ancestral spin on our modern lifestyle, right? Like I take on topics and I frame it ancestrally so that we can understand, you know, hey, this is how we should be doing it if we want to feel a certain way.
Yep.
And then I also have links to my podcast there too, which is on Spotify and Apple. and
Perfect.
about to get it on YouTube. So be
Yep.
looking out. We're going to have some video coming with it, and just bringing on, guests who are experiencing transformations in their lives. And we're fortunate enough that they want to come share that story,
Yeah.
right? It's all about that vulnerability and who's going to be brave, who's going to come on here and say, yes, I'll admit it. I thought it. It was a part of my life, but now I'm aware of it and I put it to task, and now I teach other people how to do it, right?
I love it.
Because, and I forgot to say it, but our food determines our thoughts determine our lifestyle. Excuse me, our thoughts determine our choices, and our choices determine our lifestyle. And I'm living testimony to that.
Love it. Love it. Appreciate you being here, brother.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys on the next episode.